right, so part two. So this is part two of the Davidson Chronicles. So when I moved to Jersey from California, I just remember I was like it was like halfway through the school year. I went to this elementary school called Clara Barton. And I remember like one of the first dudes I met with there was on the bus was this hilarious guy named Kyle Grayson. Freaking just hilarious dude. But I remember like going to new school and I felt like such an outsider. It's like, oh man, I think I was also like the only Asian kid too. Like I don't remember being there was like no other Asian guys like in at least not that I remembered. Oh, actually there was this one guy, his name is Schumann, and we actually became like really good friends, but that didn't happen until like high school because he ended up going to Carusi and I went to a different school named Rosa. So, anyways, fast forward, I was like really shy. I think that was when I was voted most reserved in the yearbook. So, interesting fact, I was voted most reserved, and here I am doing a Chronicles of Davidson about my life story. Interesting stuff, huh? So, anyways, I end up going to this school in the middle of Cherry Hill, which was an interesting experience. Oh, so the first day of school, the school wasn't even, it was like brand new. The school wasn't even like done yet. So I remember we went to this like JCC, which it's like a Jewish community center. And one of the most embarrassing things like ever has happened to me. We were doing introductions, and this is like the first time meeting everyone, obviously, right? It's your first day of school. And I remember like I was wearing these like jorts, sorry, it's like jean shorts. And I remember I had chocolate in my pocket and it was like, it was like the first week of September, right? So it was like still relatively hot out. And I remember like the chocolate melted in my pocket and I took my hands out when it was my turn to introduce myself and my hand was full of chocolate and everyone looked at me and laughed. And then some people called me Chocolate Boy. And from that day on, I was named Chocolate Boy. Yep, that's my life, guys. That's my motherfucking life. So, this traumatizing experience, along with all the other ones I shared with you, really actually really messed up my confidence. I was like pretty nerdy. I had like really thick, big, like round glasses, bowl haircut, and yeah, I lacked a lot of confidence. We moved around a lot. I think I moved to this point being just like I don't even know what fifth grade. How old is people in fifth grade? But pretty young. And yeah, just not having a lot of confidence. Like I was like okay in school. Actually, I was decent, I think back then. Like average, maybe above average, right? But you know, in my opinion, like lacked a lot of social skills. So when I went to Rosa, sixth grade was like kind of sort of the same where I was like pretty nerdy, did all right in school. Um, I remember like I remember getting yelled at a lot when I was like in third and fourth and second and fifth grade when I was in California because I would like stay up and I would watch like Guinness World Records and Ripley's Believe It or Not, and I would like turn off my light so they would think I was sleeping in my room and I would just watch. And I think that like fucked up my eyesight, which is why I'm getting LASIK this year. Woo! If this whole thing ends, my surgery got rescheduled because of what's going on. But anyways, so sixth grade. So in seventh grade, I think that's when the transformation started to happen. I wouldn't say it was a transformation, but I remember like I was starting to find my groove where I was like starting to get along with people. I had like a lot more friends, but I always felt like I was like a chameleon. Like I never felt like I was like able to like I was always very insecure still. And I also remember like I hung out with like a lot of friends. There was like me and this other guy named George who would like hang out with all the ladies. Like we had so many female friends and I definitely noticed that I was able to like connect more with women. Not really sure why, but I think because I lived with my grandma and my two sisters and my mom, and I was always like a more sensitive, more emotional type of good dude. And that was fun. I think 7th grade was when I started having fun. I started actually like dating people. So, that's when I started finding like my groove, and I had like a lot of I dated like a bunch of different women or teenagers at that time. And it was a lot of fun. I think that's when I started feeling cooler. I started like gelling my hair, and then middle school and high school kind of like is like a blur for me. But I remember like I was involved with everything from newspaper, like for the sports editor for the newspaper. I was hung out with the drama kids, but then I was also hanging out with like the football guys, or my friend Rick and them, and Truman was on the football team. So, and then I did cross country, and then I did track, and then I did winter track, and then I did bowling. And then, yeah, I think high school was an interesting experience for me because in so many ways, like I was thriving. I was like doing well. I had like a lot of friends. My school grades were all right. But I do remember because I was taking all IB, which stands for International Baccalaureate, and some AP courses and honors courses. I think I had one or two advanced courses, but for the most part, I didn't do well compared to all the other honors and IB and AP kids, like relatively speaking, in the stack rankings. But I think compared to the average person, I probably was way above average. But when you're a kid, you're always comparing yourself to your peers. But I remember feeling that I was like not as smart as everyone. And then one of the defining moments during my personal project, which is like this huge, like think of it as like a thesis project, but in high school, I remember scoring like a really high score. I scored like a 6 out of like a possible 7, which was like incredible. And it was funny because I created like a maze, like a stick maze, and a book full of mazes, and I was like so passionate about the maze, like drawing mazes. And I think like it really wowed the presenters because they're like, oh, like this guy's like really creative. But my story was like I was not creative because in arts, in one of my art classes, I had this teacher named Miss Sharp, bless her soul. um but she said like, and I think like I was just very sensitive at the time, but she's like, wow, this is like the worst thing I've ever seen. Like and I interpret it as like, this is horrible. You're bad. Like just quit art. And then from that moment on, I told myself I was not creative. Crazy, right? Looking back at this and just like thinking about all this stuff. Um, but yeah, so that is chapter 2 of the Chronicles of Davidson. Stay tuned for stuff for episode 3 about the rest of high school and my dating life and college. Woo!